you all are going to say, oh my goodness, you're back on. So whether anybody thinks I should be or not, I am out for breakfast, but there's hardly anybody in here. We're all sitting at like at tables that are, 25 feet from each other. Uh, so anyway, I just finished talking. Welcome as you come in, by the way. Today is the 15th of March, 2020. I'm Roy Potter, and I thought I'd come on and let you know what I've been up to. First of all, again, I want to apologize for the information that was in error on what I thought had been President Trump going ahead and signing something on this Patriot Act FISA situation. I have no excuse. I'm not going to try to make one, other than that the information that was sent to me was from a major news source, and the way it was written, I went through it too fast. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. So I did retract that. It'll be interesting to see if, in fact, he ends up how he deals with this. My issue is that he doesn't sign it at all. To hell with the IC. We can let the military handle all these things. We don't need all these agencies doing all this stuff against Americans. But let's get to the subject at hand this morning. Hopefully you can hear me. Maybe you can give me a thumbs up or whatever. I've got this earphone in. I really don't need that. I think I'll take that out. Hold on a second. Because I can't. Okay, so volume is low. Yeah, well, I'm going to be talking low because I don't want to disturb any people in here, so you'll just have to deal with it if you can. Is a professional immunologist, and he works for one of the largest medical, what I call systems, I guess I'll say, in the country, and it's right in an area where all of these things are starting to happen. I'll just put it that way. I wanted to get him on the show, but he is concerned that if he comes on my show, he will receive difficulties from his other people. He has his own practice, but he also is working for this major medical center, which is very large, and it covers a very large geographic area. So, yeah. If I have any mods on here, any of these wisecrackers that come on, you can throw them off. Nobody's 100% right all the time, okay? That's all I'm going to say about it. And I've already made my retraction, so no LARPing here. I don't LARP anything, all right? Not a chance. Uh, Unlike those who make money off of LARPing, okay? All right, I'm going to just stay on I'm going to ignore the trolls, Diane. I wanted to address. So I talked to this immunologist, and he has confirmed, because he has studied the DNA sequence of the virus itself, he has confirmed that it is real. It isn't something that's being made up. It has been attenuated to some point. It's not a regular coronavirus. It is based on a coronavirus platform, but it is something different, okay? It's something that's, he won't go so far as to say it's been bioengineered. He won't say that. But he has said that the method of its release, he is convinced that because it has some DNA characteristics to the types of coronavirus that are found in bats, and that's where the story about it being released in the Wuhan wet meat market came from. But in fact, he says he doubts that story very, very much. He says there's not one facility, BL4 facility in Wuhan. There are like four of them. And he said any of those could have been the site where this was released. So at any rate, that's the first thing I wanted to say. And it is traveling around the world, and there are huge numbers of people really getting sick. There are many in his facility that are suffering from this. I don't know if there have been any deaths. I didn't ask him about that in his medical center there that covers a very large geographic area. I didn't ask him that. I didn't want to get that personal. The other thing that I wanted to talk to him about was with these different people, these different companies that are making vaccines. And I'm going to tell you what he said. I'm not saying I would do this, okay? But I'm going to tell you what it is. Remember, he's a professional immunologist, okay, for a major medical facility, medical center. He said to me that the very best way to do this is for each person that comes down with the disease that they do a workup on that person, that individual, and then um, after the research is done, which takes a little bit of time, of course, and maybe it would take too long, but he says then to design a specific vaccine for that person. Sorry, it's getting loud in here, so I'll speak up a little more. That's what he says should be done, but of course that's not how they can do it massively. So I asked him, I said, well, okay, well, what do you think about these different people, these different companies that are rushing to make a vaccine? He says, this is my take on it. This is what he said, okay? This is him, I'm quoting him. This is my take on it. The fact of the matter is these things mutate so quickly, and we are going to see do, that you can't make a vaccine that will take care of all the strains. I'm sure you've heard this before. But what he says, it's a numbers game. If you get the vaccine and it protects you from, say, let's say there are 5 different strains of this thing, if it protects you against 2 or 3 of them, that cuts your chances down of being exposed. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a numbers game. It's a gamble. So in other words, if there are 5 strains and you happen to be vaccinated against 3 of them, if you come into contact with one of those people that has that particular strain, you'll be protected there. However, if you get exposed to someone who has a different strain, then you can still get sick, but it cuts down your chances of getting sick. That's what he's talking about. Okay, he is not a firm believer in all forms of vaccinations. In his professional field, he has to work with that. But this is a doctor who actually makes a vaccine for individuals. So that vaccination program would be very effective. However, when it's made on a mass scale, it's a numbers game. They can't protect you against all strains of the disease. And we've seen that in the past. You get a flu shot based on last year's strain. They try to figure. Well, I'm getting interrupted again. I'm going to close down. I'm not going to take this too long. Getting a vaccine can still get sick, but it's a numbers game to cut your chances of getting sick. That's all it is. Now, I'm going to be talking to him again later, and I'll take more extensive notes. And no, it's not all a ruse. No, it's not. It has been created. I am certain it was intentionally released. That's not the issue. And I asked him how serious the disease is, and he says it's based on the individual, okay? He didn't give me any information on the reinfection rate or anything like that. I didn't have that much time to talk to him. Hopefully I'll be able to get that information later, okay? The fact that, we've heard that the reinfection rate is high and that the reinfection is more deadly than the first infection. We didn't get to that subject matter, so I'm going to talk to him about that later, okay? But I just wanted to give you an update, let you know that in fact is real, and whether or not it's as bad as they say it is, he says it is. Whether it's as bad as they say it is, it's still being used to disrupt society. It is, and that's why I complained the other day about what I did, my concerns about how this is being used by the different governments to shut down dissent. The demonstrations, for instance, in France by the yellow vests that's still going on in mass. They're even demonstrating against the shutdown, the isolation rules. And of course, here in the States, we're going to see that too when it starts happening, which is probably going to start in reality probably within the next week or two. So I'm not saying I like the way it's coming out, but the way the government's handling it, but I don't really know what else I can do at this point. But I think I've confirmed that the vaccination program is probably not going to benefit you in the long run, is what the basics of my upload this morning are. It's a numbers game. 5 different strains, this is an example. Vaccinations protect you against 3 of those, and if you get exposed to one of the ones that doesn't, then you still get sick, or otherwise, of course, it can also harm your immune system in other ways. Well, yeah, Jimmy Meeks. I don't doubt that they could use it for a cover for mass arrests. I mean, they did it in China, right? And I'm not thinking that the U.S. government is any less susceptible to that kind of tyranny. You know how I feel about this. And again, I've heard all the excuses. Okay, I'm not here to discuss that this morning. On these things, he says the virus is real. It is wreaking havoc. It is mutating, and he kind of follows that this particular virus seems to go where it's cold and high humidity. And I said, well, that's kind of odd. Um, how if the humidity is there, is that part of the transmission problem? He says, well, of course, because the virus can live longer on the droplets in the air. You see what he's saying? So he's saying that you're not probably going to see major outbreaks unless it mutates again, but he said most viruses can't handle sunlight and warmth. That doesn't mean the virus won't show up there. It means the transmission rates will go down because the virus cannot survive when it's